bees that leave the hive and from an established hive and establish a new colony. Sorry about that. Swarming is a natural process that helps bees reproduce. So most of us, who's had their hive swarm? Be honest. Who gets annoyed by it? Trust me, I do. Okay, how it happens is when a colony becomes too crowded and the workers signal that it's time to swarm, the queen stops laying and reduces her weight so that she can fly. Generally, she is too heavy to fly, so that's when you're there and you're checking and you drop her on the ground. It's really good to have her marked because you can actually see her generally. Try not to walk on her because there's tears then. The queen and half of the workers leave the hive in a cloud of bees. The swarm lands a nearby tree, not always, but we're hoping that happens. The queen emits a pheromone and signals the worker to cluster around her. So that's to keep her warm. She needs to rest because she's not used to flying, whereas they are. Scout bees are in search for a new home. That's where it comes into, you might end up with a hive in a wall. And it's very costly. If we can get them before they're in the wall, it's not so costly because we do that generally. I don't know, I do it for free, but I certainly don't need them. So when the scout bees find a new home, the swarm flies off and into there. So what happens? When does it happen? Swarming usually happens in spring and early summer. So the other times it'll happen is when we have lots of rain, they're in, they can't get out to fly, they fill up the box full of honey, and then she goes on a laying spree. It's most common on warm and sunny days from the swarm. That's when you will generally see them swarming, if you do see them. I'll show you some photos later on and explain what Ben and I experienced one day. What it looks like. A swarm can be the size of a softball, so about that big, or it can be the size of this. Just depending, I've had them where they're hanging, like they break branches, they're really, really tall. That one there was about this big. I had a 5-frame up there, you can see I'm in a 5-frame nuke. I got it down onto the ground and the bees started balling out. Luckily, I had a 10-frame hive that one of my I was dropping back to my mentor because he'd lent it to me, one of my mentors, and I went, I can't bring it back, Clive, I need to put the swarm that I just collected into it, and they were happy as Larry. So, we all know what to do if we see a swarm, but the general public, we're trying to educate them. So, keep children away, keep pets away, give the bees space, let them settle and clump. Suggest they don't spray them with fly spray or hose them because that makes it hard for us to then, as beekeepers, to collect them because they're not in good health. And call a beekeeper who specialises in swarm removals. So if you want to join the swarm register, please let us know. It is, you do need to go out with a mentor to collect a swarm. We try to get people, but it is a spur of the moment thing. So usually we'll go, hey guys, we've got a swarm, who wants to come? You can have it, I don't want it. That's what I do anyhow. So, you ask what I can do as a beekeeper to prevent my hive from swarming. Check your hive on a regular basis, every 10 to 14 days, weather permitting, season permitting. That means, so if it's raining, don't go into your hive, because your hive's not going to be happy with you. But it also is seasonal permitting. So it's, generally they won't swarm in winter time, but we do get swarms in winter because it's not that cold here in Queensland. I always know when it's going to be a big swarm year because I'm already getting swarm calls before I go to Eka. So that's August, late July, August. If I'm getting them before then, I know I'm in trouble. Yes, this means checking the brood super, just not the honey. The brood super is where the babies are and the queen bee should be. So as you can see, we've got Steve here from Brookside, who's checking his hives. That's the observation hive at the Ekka. That's the only photos I could find that I had on my computer that of us going through hives. Sorry about that. Understanding queen cells. We have 3 different types of queen cells. We have a swarm cell, a supersedure cell, and an emergency cell. So, swarm cells are generally found at the bottom of the frame as the queen has now run out of space for her to lay eggs. So if you see right down the bottom, that's, so they're building them so that they hang downwards. So a queen cell will always hang down, whereas a brood cell's up. Supersedure cell. So, normally they're found within the worker brood part of the frame. Why would this happen, you ask? There's a few reasons. Your queen can run out of sperm, so she goes out and she mates with 20 odd drones. She will carry the sperm that she has for the rest of her life. She doesn't go out and have another smate, it doesn't go out and remate. No, she doesn't top up, if only. Or they don't like her. And I've seen that happen. I've been in a hive, found the queen, put her in, next minute there's a bunch of bees at the bottom of the hive, and I went, what's that? I wiggled the hive tool in there, and I found the queen that was marked, and they were actually balling her up and killing her. So they didn't like her. So your queen could be damaged in some way. She could be missing a front leg. She needs her front legs to be able to determine the size of the cell, because then she knows that she's going to lay a worker egg or a drone egg, so by the size of the cells. The original queen can still sometimes be found within a hive after a new queen emerges, returns and starts laying eggs. We call that a mother and daughter queen set. Generally, they will sort it out themselves, but as beekeepers, we find them, we go, oh my God, we've got 2 queens, and then we go, oh, let's put one in another box. You'll know which one's the older queen, if she's marked. If not, she will generally throw queen cells again. Okay, an emergency cell is general rule. There'll only be a few of these, 2 or 3 in the whole hive. This is because the beekeeper has either rolled the queen, accidentally killed her, or the bees have killed her. It happens to all of us. I've had it happen. I have a frame here that I pulled out of a hive today when I requeened it, and it's here on the stage, so I will pull it out after and you can have a look. So it's fresh, very fresh. I apologise if there is a any bees hatching. So as you can see on this frame, you can see there's the swarm cells at the bottom, the supersedure cells at the top, and the emergency ones are generally in between. What should you do when you find queen cells and a queen? So generally you'll find your queen, sometimes if your queen's marked and you can find her, you'll find her, but you'll find your queen cells at the same time. You've got about 14 days before that hive swarms. Be calm, waggle on. You just got to sort it out. Don't panic. These are commonly known as queen cups, practice cells or party cups. The bees are practicing their queen cell building skills. These can be seen, if you have a look at them, if they're empty, knock them down. It just means that you keep stuff going. The girls will keep going. A few things that you can do is artificially swarm. So does everybody understand artificial swarm? No? Okay, so an artificial swarm is where you go through your hive, you find your queen. You must find her. Put her in a nuke box. Give her another frame of brood. Give her a honey frame and some spare frames. That is an artificial swarm. She thinks that she swarmed, she won't swarm again. With the extra brood frame, make sure you do not have a queen cell on it or any queen cells at all, or new merging, starting to make queen cells, because otherwise your hive will swarm again. Free up some space, give them work to do. So this is where we keep our hives ticking over. checking our hives means that we can give them new frames or we can give them frames to be working on. They generally don't swarm if they've got work to do. And lastly, and this is what I've done today, is no matter what I did with this hive, I've given them frames to work on, you know, and it drives me insane sometimes. Replace the queen with new genetics. So good genetic mated queens tend not to swarm if you maintain your hives. So these are a couple of photos of swarms that I've picked up probably since October last year. I think I've done 40 all up. I've kept about 25. They're on a hospital apiary. I have a hospital apiary where all my swarms go, or any hives that I take possession of, so that they can go through quarantine. They are checked for varroa, right? So we do alcohol washing. We also wait while we're doing, I do about 3 months before I put them out onto a farm, because I want to know there's no disease in that hive, because if I take that hive to a farm and it wipes out my apiary, there is my income gone. I get paid for hives on the ground. So this one's at Petrie here. It was underneath the veranda and I feel it's come from the park down there. That we know that there's a couple of ferrules in the tree. This one here in the middle was at Petrie, and this one here on the end is Strathpine. So I generally know where I pick them up. I write on the lid, so I know where they're coming from. I try to group them in groups so that I can keep a track of where they're coming from. This one is just recently, probably in the last couple of weeks, maybe a week or two. James is one of my mentorees. I gave him a call. He'd been overseas, come out. He was been in Europe and it was really cold, and poor thing, I put him in a suit and said, help him. Yep. So James took the first hive. So I gave the first hive in October to him. This is the second open air hive that we've collected from this exact same property. So in this season. So our season runs from October through to March for your spring season. Chris and Henry, they gave me a hand. We got an emergency dash. There's there's bees all over our wall. That was 5 days earlier. They got into the building at the school. The school chose to eradicate them. I give the school the option because it is a government contract. They do not like paying for to have them removed because it comes out of the school's budget. I understand that. I've had some from Pine Rivers that I went and checked, said exactly the same thing. They eradicated them. It's up to them. I don't interfere in that. So these bees, we rescued them. We got a mad dash up the wall. That was 2 stories high, quite tall. As you can see, I'm up there and see the ball of bees. I actually found the queen. She had not got into the wall. Because if you can see in the middle there where I'm sort of crouching over with the lid of the nuke, you can see the vent hole. Down the bottom you can see the vent hole. There was a vent hole right behind where that big ball of bees is. So here's our hive down the bottom. You can see where they're marching in. Chris took a video of them marching in and we've popped it up on Facebook. That bottom one there was when we went back to collect it after dark. So you can imagine how many bees it was, because the hive was absolutely chockers. We actually had to get them into the hive to be able to take them away. So that was the second swarm in 5 days. So that's this area, because I deal with this area a lot. Right, Ben and I Ben got a phone call. He said, Nick, I got a phone call, what do I do? I said, yep, righto, let's go. Well, so about 5 days prior, he got a phone call. There was scout bees, so we were going to sort of go and work out if we could close the section where they were coming and going from. And if you have a look in the bottom photo there, right at the back, you can see I'm standing on a ladder. That's where they were coming and going from. That one is at the front of the veranda. They were coming and going from there as well. So they had two spots coming and going. These photos are taken after the swarm arrived, as we were discussing what we were going to do. So we were going back that night to block off the holes, so not to let them in, and we were going to leave that hive there. The owner said, the property owner said to us, "There's lots of noise out here." We come out from underneath the veranda, and we stood there. Too late. So you have generally 4 or 5 days. If somebody rings you about scout bees, try to get out to them really quickly, because if you can block up the hole late in the afternoon or night time, where they're coming and going from, as long as you know they're not in the wall already, so that's where the FLIR camera comes in. I have a FLIR and I go and check, and if they're not in the wall, I'll block it up. I leave a hive there. You've generally got 4 days. Okay, FLIR is a... Hang on, it's there. So it is thermal imaging. So you see the purple image at the bottom with the yellow? That's my FLIR. I take it connects to my phone, so I take it with me, I pop it on, and that actually tells me I can mark the wall where the bees are. So I quite often get calls, "Can you come and mark the wall so that we can get the cutout?" So we've opened up. Now they were there, this was at about 11 o'clock? 10 o'clock, we were standing there trying to, it was pointless, we couldn't stop them from going in. That's what they built from 10 o'clock until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That little white ear was about that big. So you can imagine how fast they build once they get in. Thank you for listening. Hope you've learned something. If there's any questions, I'm only happy to take phone calls. If you need help at all, just yell out. I am busy, leave a text. Please don't leave a message, because I have 58 messages I usually have to go through to find your message, or I'll generally ring you back if I notice there's a phone number that I don't know. Enjoy your beekeeping journey. Really, it is. I've been beekeeping for 5.5, 6 years now. I love it. I've gone from a traditional job to being a commercial beekeeper. Be thankful for your mentors. I know I'm forever grateful for my mentors, my current and my previous and current. So yes, I still have mentors. I now have mentors in the commercial world, but I also mentor people. So, yeah. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Hopefully, yes.
I had a small, swarm, and they were only say about that.
Teacup?
On my next door neighbour's awning. But would that be just scout bees looking where they were going to go first?
Could be. Generally, if they're only about, I've had a teacup swarm, they do survive. Believe it or not, they do survive. You do have to manage them through. So generally what I do when I go to a swarm, I'll shake them into a box, let them settle. If they're going in the door, if they're going, like marching in, they're like you'll see on one of the videos Chris put up, they're actually marching in. That's how I know I've got my queen. Because they will not enter that box until she is in that box. So I generally will go through and find my, I go through my box and I will find her. So I'll go through each frame. I go, yep, no, she's not on that one. So go through it, find your queen, put her in a queen clip for 2 days. Do you know why I do that? Because it ties her to that box. Because if she doesn't like that box, she can say, rightio, this is too small. Well, generally if they're too small, they'll come straight out again. But sometimes they don't like boxes. They smell funny, they don't look right, the frames might not be great. So what I do is I put her in the queen clip, I put her on a rubber band up against the foundation sheet, let them build the frames out, And then I will go back to, I then move it at night time, go back 2 days later and go back to my hospital apiary, and I will let her out, because by that time they actually have built out enough of the frames and they've fed her enough. She's only 2 or 3 days away from starting to lay again. So that's why I clip my queens if I can find them, because it ties her to the box. Hinterland bees, it was something I was watching and he was saying, and I went, oh, okay, that's why, yep, good idea. So, yeah. Any other questions? No? Thank you. Enjoy. Please help with swarms. We actually have a biosecurity, we are actually required by biosecurity to actually collect swarms. Anybody under 400 hives, even as a commercial beekeeper, so from 50 up to 400, we are still, Biosecurity Queensland can ring us and say, you need to go and collect this swarm. Don't ever say no to them, because it is a requirement of our biosecurity thing that we have. Thank you.